Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, November 25th, 5:26 a.m. Central Time. Grain markets are mixed this morning. December corn futures down 1.25 at 424.25. January soybeans up 5.75 at 989.25. December Chicago wheat down 7.25 at 537. December Kansas City wheat down 7.5 at 546.75. December spring wheat is down 2 cents at 586. Let's start off with this Mexico story.
So Mexico is forging ahead with a $2.7 billion port expansion despite potential trade turmoil. The investment will more than double the Port of Manzanillo's capacity, placing it among the top 20 container ports in the world. The port receives goods from more than 140 countries, primarily handling automotive, agricultural, and steel products. The US and Canada have voiced concerns that Mexico could become a way for China to bypass trade restrictions and enter North America. Donald Trump has pledged to impose a 20% tariff on all imported goods and a 60% tariff on imported goods from China. In early October, Trump said he could impose tariffs higher than 200% on imported vehicles from Mexico.
What I'm about to say here may go down as possibly the dumbest thing that I've ever said on the podcast, but hear me out. I'm going to reiterate something Mackenzie mentioned here, and this is a quote from the Bloomberg piece. The U.S. and Canada have both expressed concern about Mexico becoming a backdoor into North America for China. And U.S.-based consulting firm Rhodium Group said in a report last month that Chinese direct investment in Mexico is 6 times higher than shown in official statistics. The idea that China is using Mexico as a backdoor to the U.S. is not correct, said Mexico's president on Friday. Let's consider a couple of things here. U.S. corn export sales for the current marketing year are the third best of the last 10 years. The only 2 years that were better at this point in the year than this year were 2021 and 2020. Both of those years were associated with large Chinese buying. U.S. corn export sales to Mexico are record high. And the narrative here to this point has been that Mexico is front-running, they're front-loading their purchase program to get in front of a Trump presidency and a trade war, take advantage of low prices, but that this sort of pace cannot continue. U.S. corn export sales to unknown destinations are record high and by a fairly wide margin. Could you imagine if in some way China was able to use Mexico as a backdoor to buy corn from the United States? I know this may be the dumbest thing that I've ever said, but could you imagine? I asked, we talked about this on Friday, and everybody that I know, people in the commercial business, and a lot of smart people have told me, Joe, that's not what's happening. China's not involved here. And after we stopped taping with Brian, I said, yeah, Brian, it's probably not China. The market would tell you if it was China, right? And Brian said, well, what do you mean the market would tell you? Like the corn spreads would be strong, which they are. Like the funds would be long, which they are. I don't know, guys. I'm going to say there's a non-zero chance that China's involved here. Maybe it's a 1% chance. You can email me and tell me I'm stupid. That's fine. But I'm gonna throw it out there today just for fun. How about that?
That's a great thing.
Yeah. All right. Next story.
So Donald Trump has selected Rick Rollins to lead the USDA. The unexpected choice follows weeks of disagreements among Trump's advisors, family members, and agricultural groups over the position. Rollins has been a longstanding ally of Trump, previously serving as a White House aide during his first presidential administration. She did grow up on a farm, but has far less experience in ag policy than the other candidates Trump was considering. As Secretary of Agriculture, Rollins will influence ag policy and farm subsidies. She will also be involved in Trump's plans to implement tariffs on China and other agricultural trading partners.
So, Mackenzie, I had never heard this person's name prior to the weekend.
Same. I had not heard of her, and I'd have to say she seems underqualified considering the other candidates that he was looking at. It will be interesting to see how this plays out. I feel like there will be a lot of criticism, and I myself need to do more research, but this is very surprising.
I don't know if there was a ton of research. There's some small history about like biofuels and fossil fuel type stuff, which didn't really lead me to any conclusion. A lot of what USDA does, you got to remember, I know that we're talking to a farm crowd here. 70% of USDA's budget is nutrition assistance, which is like food stamps and stuff. A much smaller portion is actually farming and the stuff that you guys deal with on a daily basis. I think that a couple of the big things will be biofuel policies. What direction is she going to lean there? And also trade. I mean, she may have play a role in whatever sort of trade war, trade conflict develops with Mexico, Canada, China, whoever. So I don't know. I think it's kind of a wait and see deal, but certainly a surprise to a lot of people in agriculture.
So if you guys have not checked out our premium content, you sure need to do so. Joe, can you tell me about some of last week's premium videos?
We did Macro Thursday with Jim last week, and when we sent out the signal for questions, the most common question that came in was about Bitcoin because Jim and I had been discussing it on and off for a couple of years. So we talked a lot about that. We talked about the Trump trade, and what is the Trump trade? It's, let's buy stocks. There's going to be tax cuts. There's going to be expansion. There's going to be deregulation, and some of the things that are going on there, some of the things you should be aware of. Also, interest rates is a big part of that, and I think that may be may have been one of the more interesting things that we talked about with relation to farmers and operating loans, that sort of thing. Paul Nefer was on Friday. We did a farm bill update, House proposal versus Senate proposal. What's probable? What's possible? What are the big impacts for you guys moving forward? If you want to see the premium stuff, go to standardgrain.com. You could sign up this morning. It's a $50 per month subscription. You can cancel at any time. No other fee, no other obligation. Nobody will try to sell you anything else. You'll get our morning email at 5 a.m. Central Time. It's jam-packed full of stuff. All of the morning headlines that we cover, all of our charts and graphics, all of my grain marketing recommendations. Our 6 most recent premium videos are included. They're super easy to access. There's no login instructions. You just click them. They play. You can sign up on your phone. It takes about 30 seconds. You just need a credit card. It also does Apple Pay, Cash App, Google Pay, all that sorts of stuff. Check that deal out this morning, guys.
The funds increased their net long position in the corn market last week. CFTC released weekly commitment of traders data on Friday. As of Tuesday, November 19th, large money managers were net buyers of 7,000 corn contracts. The funds have been net buyers of 463,000 contracts of corn since the beginning of July. Funds were net sellers of 9,000 contracts of soybeans and 7,000 contracts of SRW wheat on the week.
This is a non-consequential fund position across the complex. It's really about flat when you combine corn, soybeans, and SRW wheat. The net long in the corn market is of particular interest. I don't know. Demand's been better. I mean, export sales been better. Ethanol's been better. I mentioned the China thing, which I get it. That's a crackpot theory, but hey, maybe it's something. But this is not the big consequential, massive net short that we had back in July. This is just kind of nothing. This is the funds like not really showing much of an opinion here.
Brazilian soybean planting is progressing at a rapid pace. According to private group Patrio Agronegocios, Brazilian farmers have planted 83.3% of this season's expected soybean area. During the same week last year, 74.7% of the crop had been planted. Adequate rainfall in recent weeks has accelerated planting progress. There had been concern regarding dryness in August and into September. Rainfall patterns, however, have returned to normal.
Looking at this 10-day GFS map, it looks like there's plenty of rain in just about all of Brazilian soybean growing country. But then when you look at the anomaly map, rainfall versus normal, what's expected over the next 10 days, you've actually got below normal rainfall expected in your biggest, most important part of Brazilian soybean country in Mato Grosso, maybe the northern part of northern half at least of Mato Grosso. Below normal rainfall is expected, and that goes out through the 16-day period. So is that why soybeans are independently higher this morning? I'm not going to say no. The bean market is incredibly sensitive when it comes to South American weather because they're such a huge producer and such a massive exporter. So if somebody's buying beans because they're seeing just a little bit of dryness in Mato Grosso, not even dryness, but just below normal rainfall, is that a possibility? Yeah, I think it absolutely is a possibility. So we'll have to keep an eye on this situation.
Friday's cattle on feed report indicated that the number of cattle on feed remains high. Cattle on feed as of November 1st were reported at 12 million head, in line with pre-report estimates. There have only been 3 times since 2015 that on-feed totals for November 1st have exceeded 11.9 million head. That was back in 2020, 2023, and then this year. Placements in October were reported at 105.3% of year-ago levels, higher than the expected 4.2% increase. The rise in placements is unsurprising given that much of cattle country is experiencing some degree of drought. Marketings last month came in at 104.7% of year-ago levels, lower than the expected 5.1% increase. The market is likely to interpret this report as neutral, given that market fundamentals remain strong.
Yeah, the market remains strong too. I mean, you pull up these longer term cattle and feeder cattle charts, and I mean, it's been a solid uptrend since the COVID lows back in, early 2020. So you're talking a bull market that's 4 years old in both cattle and feeder cattle. So I don't know that report really does anything to change any of this right now.
USDA reported a flash sale of soybeans on Friday. U.S. exporters sold 7 million bushels of beans to unknown destinations for delivery during the current marketing year. Since the beginning of November, unknown destinations have purchased 44 million bushels of soybeans for delivery during the current marketing year through flash sales.
Soybean sales have caught up to where they need to be to hit USDA projections, which is still not enough to rally the market necessarily, but it's better than the alternative. What did cattle do on Friday?
Live cattle were 22 cents to $1.17 higher. Feeders were 62 cents to 130 higher. Cash cattle trade was higher last week. Down in Texas, cattle sold at 186, which was $1 higher than the prior week. In Kansas, cattle were $1 to $2 higher at 186 to 187. In Nebraska, cattle were $2 to $3 higher at 187 to 188. And then over in the Western Corn Belt, we saw cattle sell at 186 to 188, which was $1 to $3 higher. Box beef was mixed on Friday. Choice ended the day at 307.41. That was up 62 cents. Select ended the day at 272.07. That was down 85 cents.
Couple of notes to start the week. Friday is first notice day for December grain futures. So if you have any remaining open positions there, make sure you take a look. Also, we will be closed on Thursday in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. We've got a normal close on Wednesday and then a reopen at 8:30 a.m. Central Time on Friday, and we'll only trade till 12:05. So abbreviated session on Friday following Thanksgiving. Outside markets, U.S. dollars off a little bit. Stocks are up. The S&P's up 31. The Dow's up 300. Bonds are up a full handle. Gold's down $25. Crude oil is down 18 cents, and the January WTI at 71.06. Have a great day, guys. We'll be back on Tuesday